We're jamming. We are jamming, jamming, jamming. How are you, Outliers? Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. And I sincerely mean that because we're on a journey here to help champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. And we do that by helping you leverage what makes you different to make your difference in the world. Today, I have one such leader here with me. His name is Ransom, and I've gotten an opportunity to get to know him over the last few weeks here, and not just him, but what he stands for. And that's one of the things that's important about what we bring together here as Outliers. Like we're on missions. There's something that drives us that's much larger than just our own personal gains. There are people out there who benefit from the way that we see things. And when we talk about a world of difference, we're talking about helping to create and shape a different world. And I'm really, really honored and excited to bring Ryan here to talk to you all about the world he's creating and then the way that he is building it differently. Ryan, an absolute pleasure.
Niiamah, thank you. Pleasure to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So we're going to play. And throughout today's conversation, what we're going to do is we're going to play in a lot of different ways. I want to start off first with just letting you know who you've been to me. And this is like what's happening in this moment in real time. All right. And then afterwards, I'll give you a chance to speak about yourself personally and professionally. Sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds wonderful.
All right, cool. Ryan, I think and I have to like look away to like channel this in because it's all coming in real time. But what I really feel from you, my experience of you is like, oh, here goes a player, right? And when I say a player, I mean like someone who's actually playing the game. When I think about like my peers who are out there creating something new, who are taking an idea that from their lived experience and finding ways to package it, to repurpose it, to make it available and accessible for people. I see you. All right. I feel the energy that you have, like just overall, but the energy that you have in the conviction of what you do. And it's different, from an energy of like, well, I think this could be a novel way, or like, I have an idea and I'm kind of working through it. It's like I feel like you bring it with passion. You're like something is lit up inside of you, and you won't stop until it gets done. However, and this is the important part for me here, it's not going to be miserable along the way. Like it's going to be a joyful ride. It's going to be something where it's like where there's abundance that comes through, and throughout the experience, you're going to just keep growing yourself and growing others. So I like that's who you've been to me here. I'm excited to call you a co-creator and to play with you here. Let's just jam on from there. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Ryan, let's help the other outliers get a chance to get to know you, and let's start off first with you personally. Share a bit about who you are in the world.
Well, I've typically been a restaurant operator, so that's been my professional impact that I've had. I've run a whole bunch of restaurants and nightclubs and lounges. I've moved from that into consulting. And from the consulting, I've now found myself in this next spot where I'm really kind of talking to what you said is, for me, this is, I believe, my most authentic self. And this message inside of me just burns like the most authentic message that I want to share. And so it's a very easy path for me to be on. And so what my focus is pushing what I call the culture of cool, but it's creating positive workplace culture environments. And I have a specific way I do it, but there's a million ways to skin this cat, as the nomenclature goes. But that's kind of a little bit about me. I'm a father as well. I'm an avid outdoorsman, and I think those are the main pieces.
Awesome. So let's do this here. I want to give people a chance to kind of get where you are coming from, where you talked about the culture of cool. Let's give a little bit of a backstory about you. Not too long, but just a little bit so that they get a chance to see like you didn't just wake up one day and you're like, oh, I have this idea that could be cool out in the world. Like this is something that you've lived, that's been out and has continued to bring you and others success. So why don't we start there? Tell us a little bit about your story and maybe like the development of a culture cool for you.
Yeah, well, so I was a college football player, and so in the off season, I would work at hotels to make a little bit of extra money, and so that's where I kind of started in hospitality. And it wasn't somewhere that I expected to stay in; it was just a temporary job, and I started finding myself doing kind of cool things. And so I was making relationships with all these cool restaurants around me. And I was sending them guests and they were giving me free dinners. And, as we created this really symbiotic winning relationship between everybody where the guests had a good time and the restaurants were getting, fresh guests or, new customers. And, I was getting free food as a broke college kid. This is all great stuff. And so it kind of started to open my eyes to what hospitality is, the bigger theme of hospitality. And so from there, as kind of any young money and girl hungry guy is, I fell into bartending, and again, I did it because it was a cool and fun environment to be in. I didn't ever expect that I'd fall in love with this to the point where this would be my future career. I thought I was going in a whole different direction. I absolutely fell in love with the restaurant business. I fell in love with the hospitality business. I felt very connected to the fact that I was able to generate experiences for other people. And I think that's what restaurants and hotels and hospitality really is we're not selling food, we're not selling beverage. What we're doing is we're selling experiences where you could host memories. And so I think that's a very big
Yeah, like I love to jump in on this here, Ryan, because because one of the things I'm already hearing, if you're cool with it, every once in a while, I'll just like pick out because there's stuff that's playing out. One, I love how you looked at like the restaurant like from an experience perspective, Like I think about it from one way, I'm coming in to go and eat, Some people might think about it like you're getting food in, you're having people come in and out, but your whole view of what is being done in that space is something that is transformed or elevated from what like this might be like the I don't know the surface level experience.
I think so. And I think that's part of what's made me successful over and over again in different places is because I look at it as a great responsibility. People come to restaurants or bars or nightclubs to celebrate or to make memories. And, I mean, the amount of birthdays and weddings and all these really important moments in your life, you guys bring them to me. And so that's an important responsibility I have. And so it's not just serving food, and I used to say this when, I would do nightclubs and bottle service. We actually had a grocery store right across the street from one of my nightclubs. And I go, this same bottle that I'm selling for $300, they can buy for $25 across the street, literally 200 feet away. So when I'm charging $300 for this bottle, I'm not charging $300 for the liquid inside of it. I'm charging $300 for the experience that goes along with it. And that's why we then have to go above and beyond. It's not just, oh, here's your bottle and walk away. It's us making drinks, it's pouring shots, it's being interactive. There is something more that you're buying than just that seat. And so that's always been the view that I've taken on hospitality is we're selling experiences. And I think when I look at through that lens, it makes it easier to what I call do the right thing, do what's right because it's right. The money will then follow.
I love what's going on here, and I'm thinking about this from the lens of outliers. So you keep doing you. Every once in a while, I'm gonna like pull up for outliers here. Outliers. I want you to think about something right now that you right now are thinking of, or maybe have in your mind as like that bottle. That bottle, that $20 bottle. You're like, well, who would pay $300 for this? You can go across the street and get it, right? Whatever your service is. Right now, we're talking about hospitality. We're talking about bottle service, like in that specific lens. But you have something in you that other people might consider to be available forever, right? And my ask is, as you're listening to this conversation, keep thinking about how and what ways do you create an experience, and what ways do you go beyond like just the commodity of what it is to create something really, really special from it. And Ryan, I get that you got that very, very quickly. Like the other thing about it is like you can pay, they're going to come and pay more than 10 times as much, more than 10 times as much to have the experience that you're offering on there as opposed to that. And I think that's an awesome thing around price value, what they pay for and what they get. And I think it's really cool that you got that off the bat. So keep going on, but I like this is I'm loving it.
I could watch a movie on my cell phone. I could watch a movie on my big screen TV. I could watch a movie at the movie theater. It's the same movie. It's three very different experiences, right? And so I think that's what it is within hospitality for sure, but all businesses, it's we're selling something a little bit larger than whatever the tangible exchange item is.
Awesome. Keep going. Tell me more. Tell me more here.
So yeah, where were we? So, I found myself pretty quickly in management, as we kind of just discussed. And so, I was kind of, by 27 years old, I was running my own nightclub. I was a general manager of a nightclub, and I just kind of took off from there. We had a lot of success. So I had opportunities that popped up in Las Vegas and in Hollywood, and I ended up going up to Hollywood for a while and running some clubs and large restaurants up there. I ran the world famous Saddle Ranch during the heyday of their time period. We were doing almost $1 million in sales a month. I did this at very low cost with high efficiency. And Saddle Ranch was where a lot of what previously had already started developing this culture of cool. I'd taken this nightclub that was not high performing, and we turned it into literally an era in Long Beach. And if you talk to people, they'll refer this as a Saatchi era, because we made such a big impact. And we made that impact because they're cool, because we had the coolest bartenders, we had the coolest entertainment, we had the coolest guests. And so this is where I started to formulate this idea and started using this coined term, the culture of cool. And for me, it hadn't been developed yet. At that point, it was just, hey, I want the coolest bartenders, and the coolest bartenders are going to have the coolest guests, and this is going to make a cool environment. But I couldn't define, if you said, well, what is beyond bringing in cool bartenders? What is a culture of cool? And I hadn't quite got it all ironed out yet. And so I moved to Saddle Ranch, and Saddle Ranch are doing incredible numbers. I'm surrounded in the heart of Hollywood, dealing with, the biggest A-name celebrities. And we were in a very fear-based model. And so on one side, we had this very high hospitality where the guests got an amazing service level, but then we ran it on the backside through like this culture of fear. And it didn't sit well with me. And it was kind of, I think, my final training before I really could develop what culture of cool was. So I went to my next restaurant, and I was given carte blanche to run it however I want. And so I did. I created all sorts of profit sharing and tip pooling models. And I brought us together as a team, and I connected everybody intrinsically to the same goals. And then I finally started really understanding what my culture of cool was. And so from there, I continued to, create other restaurants. I ended up buying my own restaurant at one point. And the same thing kept happening, where I'd come into locations that were distressed, and almost immediately, as soon as I hit the ground, within 2-3 months, the culture of cool starting to get enacted. And then all of a sudden we just take off, and we'd have massive success and, skyrocketing sales. And so it was a pattern that happened over and over again. And so that was kind of where this is all born from. And so I got into consulting, and I found myself in a rut a little bit in consulting, because I was doing this broad line consulting. And so I was helping this guy open a new restaurant. I was helping this guy because he was failing. And a lot of the people that seemed to be coming to me were people that they should have called me 3 years ago, but now their books are in a bad position. Their restaurant's crashing. So now they're calling me as a last ditch effort. And unfortunately, it was, and what I've had to realize through the experience of doing this is, it was the mentality of them not being cool and them being a loser, which made their business a loser. And so at this point in my career, I said, I don't want to deal with losers anymore. I don't want to deal with these people that don't understand this, because they'll promise you the world. And that's what happened to me over and over again. Come in and save my business. Yeah, we'll bring in profit sharing. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll do all these other things that we need to do. We'll improve the environment. And then you get in and you start, fixing some things. And they go, well, no, I don't want to spend that money there anymore. I want to try to recoup all my losses. I have all these, years of losses I need to start, refilling the coffers. You're going, well, you're going to be back in the same situation. And so that's kind of what's brought me here to really focusing my consulting and a public speaking business on really trying to share my experience with the success I've had at creating a culture of cool, and what that means, and how you can, grow it within your own business. And I really believe, for me too, that this goes beyond hospitality. I think this culture of cool applies to every single business. There's a way that you'll be able to see that, oh, this applies to what I'm doing, no matter what it is that you're selling, if it's a service or a good. And I think even goes farther than that that instills an aspect of democracy inside of us. You know, I feel that we go through our lives and, you know, we have our parents tell us what to do, and then we have the schools tell us what to do, and then we have our jobs telling us what to do. And we don't really get to input a lot. And so you have all these beautiful minds and perspectives and lived experiences that aren't getting to be shared. And you just have this one group of people, whether it's your parents or your school or your bosses, that are just kind of telling you, this is what we're going to do. And I found there's a better way, you know, and I found that not only do I have higher results, higher profits because of it, but it releases tension and ease from me as an operator. When I ran Saddle Ranch, for instance, we had over 100 employees. I had 26 server sections. I could only physically watch so much at a time. And, you know, oftentimes I'd be in a section or a room and everybody be perfect. And I'd walk out of the room and I'd turn around and walk right back in. And I just could feel this like sigh of relief, and everybody started cutting corners a little bit. And I think it's often the same with police officers. We're driving on the freeway. Everyone's driving 5-10 miles over the speed limit. The cop starts to pull on to the on-ramp. Everybody slows down to the speed limit. He gets off and everyone speeds up. And I realized I didn't want to run my business that way, because that means I would always be a slave to my location. I could never continue to grow this. I couldn't go and enrich myself in other ways. That if I wasn't there cracking a whip on my employees at all times, they weren't going to do what I was telling them to do or what I wanted them to do. And I knew that wasn't the way. And so this is where all this was born from, and creating really a symbiotic relationship where everybody's intrinsically connected to the same end goals is what it is.
I love how you put it in that context at the end there. And like I'm hearing you, I'm hearing about like your journey through in the hospitality industry, like to many different restaurants. And like my thoughts that's going on through my mind were like, how does like what is it like at the core of the culture of cool? Like I'm assuming that there's different things that you do in like let me put it this way. I think that cool probably looks different in different areas, you know? And so unless I'm wrong, like let me know. Like is it the same cool all around, or like okay. All right. So like
And but there's what I call pillars.
okay, tell me more.
First off, I have here, I'm gonna read to you what the definition of cool is, a dictionary definition. And so it means great, fine, or excellent. It's categorized by great facility and highly skilled. So basically we're talking about an ease of accomplishment. Okay. And it's an ease of accomplishment at a high level. And then it's also an expression of gratitude or admiration. So for me, what that all means is cultivating a culture of cool is a way of life. So this isn't a scheme. This isn't a business plan. This is something that we genuinely have to embody and we have to do, because it doesn't just go away. It's not like I could run a culture of cool for 6 months, get my sales up, pull off the reins, and I'm going to keep it. Because the thing is about cool people is they intrinsically know what else is cool. You don't have to tell them. They just feel it and they just know. And as soon as something stops being cool, those cool employees will leave, the cool guests will leave, the cool ambiance falls away. And so it's something that you have to continue to do. And the other thing about like cool people is cool people aren't punching down. And when you're cool, you can just do what's right because it's right. And you don't have to beg and you don't have to chase. People are magnetized to you and they're drawn to you and they just want to be in that environment or be around you. And so, yes, that's going to look different in every single environment. Every building, every concept, every neighborhood is going to have a different version of what that is. But for me, it sits on the same 3 pillars. So here are the 3 pillars of what I consider the culture of cool. Is first, you have to make your environment irresistible. And an irresistible environment isn't just the physical environment. Yes, the curb appeal, and yes, the business ambiance is a big part of that, but it has to be irresistible to your customers. It has to be irresistible to your guests. You have to create something in the restaurant business that's craveable, right? And that people want to continue to come back for. So you always have to think to yourself, like, what is going to make this environment irresistible? And then part of that irresistibility is back to what we were talking about, is you have to make it look easy. you can't look like you're struggling to make this irresistible environment. And the only way that you can create a truly irresistible environment is with a team. Because if I'm going to do it myself, I can't do it with ease. The only way we could do something like that with ease is with other people who are on board that see the same vision as you and want to create that same future. The second thing is sharing in the feast. And so sharing in the feast could mean, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm over here. I'm like, I gotta unmute here. I think I want to hear about the three pillars. I want to go through. Do me a favor. I'm going to go through each one as you go through. I'm going to have some questions around it. Can you tell us the three pillars so we have it all in one place? And then I want to go into the irresistible environment first.
So the three pillars are make your environment irresistible, share in the feast, and be a leader worth following.
All right, awesome. So now we're on like make your environment irresistible. Like some of the things that you get in here. You talk about cool being like ease of accomplishment at a high level. Like when you said that, I was like, I actually think that was really important to understand like what cool is because I like look, if I could be really honest with you, Ryan, like there's a part of me that's like, I'm not cool. I would like to be cool. I believe in what he's saying about a culture cool. Like I could be somewhat cool. I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. Like I can nerd out on things, and I think that's cool, you know. And so like, so there's something around this definition here that at least one part that I can take is like that ease of accomplishment at a high level. I'm like, oh, if that's the case, then I'm really cool, right? Like, or that's what I strive for. Where it's like, how can I do like great things without it being hard, you
Right.
know?
And
Like,
I want to pause you there real quick too,
yeah,
because like we have this like this stereotypical like vision, right? Like, oh, you have the cool kids and you have the nerdy kids.
yeah.
That's not what cool is about, because there's cool people within the world of technology. There's cool people within the world of jocks. There's cool people within the world of fashion. There's cool people within the world of music. And these people are very different type people, you know? And so whatever your genre is, you can be cool in that. You know, cool isn't this very narrow group that says, oh, it's these one people. No, that's, you know, that's not what cool is. Cool applies to every single different group within that own ecosystem.
All right, awesome. Well, I needed to say that. I was like, ooh, am I cool? Can I pull it off? So thank you for like addressing that.
Is cool. Everybody
Could,
has their own coolness, and it takes confidence, and it takes being able to do things with ease and, you know, free flow with it. But it doesn't matter what you're doing, you know,
well,
if you
I think there's something that just like shut up, right? Because like I'm like the free flow, like sometimes I can see that being like, oh, you know, this he's like I guess there's something in like that ease of accomplishment, like that leads to the free flow, right? But I'm thinking about like a cool group of like historians, you know, and I'm like, yeah, if I was in the space and like someone was like just able to rattle off like not just what happened at a certain time, but like to be explain it in a way that I could be able to understand it, and like they jumped into story and I felt like I was being taken in there, and I saw how all these different pieces that weren't just on a timeline of this happened and this happened. It's like they were all interwoven like this one domino. Like that's cool to me. Like that's
yeah,
really cool.
there's
Yeah.
I wish I could remember his name right now, but there's an archaeologist right now who I would say is really cool. And like archaeology outside of, you know, Indiana Jones isn't typically thought of as cool, but there's this guy out in Egypt right now, and he's just discovering all this stuff right and left. And you know, I mean, he's cool, and because he's finding all these things with ease, he has this formula that he's doing where he's able to discover all these old monuments and all these old hidden secrets, and it's going, this guy's pretty cool. And if you look at him, he looks like a nerd and he's digging around the dirt all day. So it's not that he has a stereotypical look of coolness, but he is very cool in his realm, and what he is doing is super cool.
I'm glad we're talking about this here. Like, so outliers, like, find your thing, right? And I think that's going to be important here. Like, whatever it is that you're up to in the world, like, give yourself that space to like lean into that ease of accomplishment, that and still produce at a high level. Like there's something about this that just really resonates, and I love what you're saying about build. Like, one of the things that had me like drop my jaws, and if you like, it should look easy, and it's not going to look easy if you're the only one doing it. And it just like that hit me hard. Do you want to say anything else about, like, I just think about like the people out there who, like, even the stars. I'm like, what support system do they have underneath them to be able to let them do this stuff here? So do you want to speak to any part of this here, and then we'll jump on to pillar number two?
Yeah, well, so I mean, one thing I was just thinking of is like, within my nightclub world, we're able to pack very large venues with thousands of people. Okay, so how did I do this? Well, I didn't do this on my own. I had a cool staff that had their own draw and following. But then two, what I did is I did layering of things. So we wouldn't just have one entertainment. We would have multiple different entertainers or different draws. And then we would sync them all together. These things all kind of match. So let's put all these things on the same night. And then we would create like sub promoters. So then I would have all these other people who are also pushing. Then I had birthdays birthdays come to me. So birthday comes, instead of it being 3 people, we would say, hey, let's make this a party of 10. And so now all of a sudden, I've used this whole pool of people that you're going to draw 10 people, and you're going to draw 10 people, and you're going to draw 10 people, but you have enough of this, and all of a sudden I have 1,000 people. And so, I think that goes to the ease, is you would see me at the night, and you'd see this line of people, and all these people wanting to come in. You're going, man, I can't believe every week, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, this guy's able to find 1,000 more people to come in the building. But I made it look easy. And it's because I understood how to use other people around me that all had the same intrinsic goal. We all wanted the same thing. So let's link up together and let's make this happen for all of us. And then in just the same way that with each of those different artists or entertainers or attractions, the more people that are there, the better it looked for them as well. So as I had this layering going on and all these other people pushing, every single individual in that looked cool to their group, because they're going, holy crap, this is your night at this nightclub, and look how busy this is. And they attribute that success to them. And so it looks easy for them because nobody is trying to bring all 1,000 people. And so we're all able to share in the glory of a great night.
So we're about to get into this, I think, too, with the second pillar. But I want to ask you just a clarifying question here. You use the word layering, and each time you say it, I'm like, I think I get the concept, but similar to cool, I would love to like have like your, like, what does that mean here? Because I actually I think it's like a really awesome like principle, and I'm like, I would love to layer. I think like, so would you mind, like, just, I think I get it, but
Really important actually to me in the way that I run my businesses and create my environments. And it is a big part of, being the culture of cool, is I find people that have either the same base demographic, or they have the same wants and likes or needs. And then I team them up. And so, for instance, in the nightclub world, I might bring in some artists, and they could put their art on the wall. And then I'd also bring in a fashion show. So now we have both, unique art for the night on the wall, plus we have fashion going on. And then I'd find a band, and then I'd find a DJ. And all these people would all work together in tandem. The type of music the DJ would play, the type of music the band would play, would be something that people that are into art and fashion might also enjoy. And so you've created an environment where everybody's kind of come together, and you've layered this on top of each other. So you have multiple different arms promoting to your same venue.
oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad I slowed that down a little bit. Like that's super helpful. All right. Like, if this is what we got for this pillar number one, I'm interested in the juice on number two. So hit us up with it.
Yeah, so the pillar number 2 is sharing in the feast. And it's giving everybody a piece of the pie. And so for me, what this does, and I've already said this a few times, is it's intrinsically connecting everybody to the same end goals.
And I hope you say it a whole lot more times, Ryan. Like, I feel like that is like at the core of all this. It all comes into that.
Yeah. And what it does is it gives people an ownership type mentality. So now you have somebody who might normally just have an employee or a task driven mentality that just wants to do their thing and go and get on, because they're not connected to the profit line. But as soon as you connect somebody to the profit line, as soon as you're sharing in the feast, then everyone starts thinking like an owner. And this not only helps them in this current environment, but we play the way we practice. And so if you look at my job, like a restaurant job, and go, oh, well, this is just a transient job, and I'm really going to be a chiropractor, I'm really going to go be a nurse, or I'm really going to go be, an engineer. Well, if you come and you work poorly for me, then you're teaching yourself, you're training yourself poor habits. And so then when you go into your real field, it's not like all of a sudden intrinsically, magically, all this is going to just turn on. And so I feel by doing this, not only do I retain people into my own culture and keep people in this business and keep them working with and for me, but I also train them to have the same mentality when they go on to whatever the other thing that they might want to go on, if it's not going to be in hospitality or whatever industry I'm doing. And so it's connecting everybody to the bottom line. And
So how do you go about doing that then? Is it like they get bonuses and things like that? Like, but how does that come together?
so this goes back to what we were talking about, that there's 100 ways to skin this cat, and it's going to look different for everybody. And so if you want, like, I'm happy to kind of talk about this a little bit. And there's different forms of profit sharing or sharing in the pie. And so some of it, if the word profit sharing scares you and you're going, oh, I don't want to, connect people to the profit line, then make it an attainable bonus, but make it an attainable bonus that's based on productivity or based on contribution, right? And then basically you're doing the same thing. You might not tie them to the overall profitability, but maybe just the profitability of their department. So maybe you go to a social media manager and you say, I'm going to pay you this base pay, and then there's going to be a profit or an obtainable bonus on the backside that's going to relate to the growth that you do above and beyond. And so I want to pause here real quick and just to define this, that salary is it's your market rate. So if I hire somebody, their salary is their market rate. That is what it is. And then on top of that, you have the profit share or you have the attainable bonuses. And what that does is that reflects your individual contribution. That reflects what you are doing above and beyond whatever the market rate is, because you might be a marketer and you might have been in automotive marketing. And then I bring you into technology marketing, and maybe you have all these great ideas and you're able to innovate and you're able to do these new things. And then the marketing shoots up even more. Well, you should be rewarded for that. You should be rewarded for that additional innovation, those additional steps that you did to learn this niche or this demographic. And so I think that's what for me, what profit sharing really is it ties everybody to want to innovate, to want to create, to want to find the best processes. So one thing that's happened for me in the restaurant business is my floors would get more efficient when I would do pool tipping, because now each person I'm working with is no longer a competitor, but they're just another arm of my own business. And so if I see their table needs something that I can handle quickly, or if one person is bogged down, then it makes it really easy for me to just step in and help that person. So I end up cutting down the steps of operations for people. And so you're now able, you return time back to you when you do this properly. And so now each server has more time with every table. They have more time to enrich those environments or those experiences. And it has everybody kind of helping everybody. So I kind of wrote down some things here of, some of the real reasons behind the benefits that you get from profit sharing. So one is you have higher productivity from both the individual and the team. And the reason is one is you got to be profitable.
I'm gonna come in here. So there's two things here. So I want to give you read off three of those things, and then leave the reading behind, and then like let me know about your experience with it, because like you are a true believer. Like it's something different than like me coming out there and like you believe in this. So like I want to get into like what's like the real behind it there. So tell us like some of the things there. But like I'll tell you, every time you tell me a story about how this actually worked out for you, like I get it. Like that I get. So go ahead. If there's things in there you got to put out there, put it out there. But like, then hit me with the real.
What are the points that I don't want to miss? The things that really make this important. And so, like I said, is it increases the profitability, because one, you have to be profitable. So if I'm in an environment where my bonuses are now tied back to the company actually being profitable, I'm going to be profit minded. It goes back to that ownership mentality. But then it also allows the individual employees to feel comfortable investing in me, because that's part of it. Is the trust has been eroded between the employee and the employer, especially after '08 and then again in 2020. A lot of people are going, I don't know, I don't trust these people. They're willing to fire me. All the nights and weekends I put in, their extra didn't return that trust back to me. So now in this new world, why am I going to give you anything extra? Why am I going to go above and beyond for you? Because I already know that you're not going to return that to me. And I don't think that's a healthy environment. I think at the end of the day, the employee wants to trust their employer. So something like this allows you as the employee to say, hey, I'm willing to invest in this employer. The next thing is it attracts people with a long-term vision. So now I'm not just hiring to fill spots. I'm hiring people that want to have a longevity with my company. And what that longevity does is it not only like creates a bond between me and that employee, but it creates bonds between the employee, because now they're all doing something meaningful together. And again, intrinsically connected. And so now I'm not looking at my other employees or co-employees as loafers or as in drags or people I don't like. I'm looking at fellow collaborators. And as we continue to increase profitability, reduce costs, find efficiencies, our respect for each other over that time period goes up. And especially because this brings retention. And it's that retention that then it keeps these teams together. So now work becomes a solace. It becomes something you're looking forward to doing because these are people that you genuinely like and that you genuinely look up to. For me, part of it is that rising tides rise all ships. And it's kind of like what we were talking about before, layering things or having all these different people. That I really believe that success shouldn't be an individual thing, that success should be a team thing. And it just feels better to me when I have more people with me, doing all one thing. It also creates a culture of accountability and a culture of reward. And so now when you're in a profit sharing model, you'll normally have to have metrics that determine what are the key trackable KPIs, right, that are going to tell me if you actually are providing value, if you actually are making things more efficient. And so then it opens up a very genuine conversation and accountability with your employees or with co-employees, that everybody's kind of, again, because we're intrinsically connected, everyone's kind of looking at that. And so you're able to hold people accountable to a higher level than just saying, oh, well, you showed up and you clocked in and you sat at your desk and now you're gone. And everybody's kind of on that. And
let me come in on this one, Ryan, because I want to make sure before that we have enough time to give space to pillar 3 before we wrap up for today. That there is a question here that I have around, like, all right, so you have the idea of the profit sharing, the attainable bonus, like finding different ways to like tie people back down to the underlying. Like, what would you say to someone who's listened to this and is like, yo, I heard Ryan, I believe in the culture, cool. Like, but I don't know how to get buy-in from someone else, like, someone else that's going to make the decision, or like to bring in the rest of my team on it, what, like, and I had, like, this could be the CEO trying to get the rest of his team on it, or her team on, and or vice versa. So thoughts on that?
This last thing, because the last part is it's a tax reduction. And so what's nice is when you're paying out a profit share bonus, it's taking out before you get to the bottom line. So your taxable contributions are going down. So, and it depends on how you could structure it. There's many companies who don't have a culture of cool, but have great accountants. And so they go into profit sharing models like this just for tax avoidance. And because they could actually pay their employees less than they would have paid the government. Now, I feel that shouldn't be the goal. And if anything, let's pay these people more, because it's going to continue to innovate and create productivity. But no, it's a great tax reducer. And so there's a few different ways that you can do this. And so one, There's short-term profit sharing, there's long-term profit sharing. So long-term profit sharing is easier. It's retirement accounts, and it's handled just like a 401k. And so where you're taking that piece of profit, you're putting it into this other account that sits, and is able to grow without that tax. It's only then taxed when the employee later in life decides to remove it. But they, just like any other 401k, you could take it whenever you want. There's just going to be different penalties based on whatever your earning, income is at that moment. So that's one part is you could set this up just purely within retirement. And so the employee is not going to get that, every quarter or every year or whatever. It's going to sit off in the future. But what's great about that too is, especially when you're tying CEOs to this, and especially if you're coming from the board minded, is if you're a board or you're a shareholder or you're an owner of a company, well, the problem that we see with a lot of CEOs is they come in, they make whatever short-term decisions they need to do to increase the value for that quarter or for that year, but then they take off and they're not worried about the long-term results of these decisions. So they might have made a decision that created a short-term spike in profits, but long-term is going to hurt the company. Well, if now I'm tied in to this profit-sharing culture, then I'm going to continue to want whatever decisions I'm making today to be profitable for the company as it continues to move forward.
I got you on that. So then, Ryan, like, I want to make sure, because we are going to wrap up soon. So I want to make sure we get to pillar number 3. Tell me about pillar number 3 here.
And I'll just close off real quick on just a short term. So in short term, you could do monthly, you could do quarterly, you could find all sorts of different obtainable bonuses or tip pooling. And for me, the only thing I would say when you're thinking about creating this is the tax burdens that you're going to give the employee. So if you're doing an annual, then you're going to give a really big lump sum to that employee, and they're going to be taxed at a very high bracket. So then it starts to take away some of that motivation. So what I would suggest is different companies work on different things. There might be seasons where you go, hey, I can't calculate a profit share properly quarterly because one quarter is up and one quarter is down. So go ahead and do it annually, but then spread that payout out over the 12 months and say, okay, here is your profit share for the last year, but then we're going to pay you out this on a monthly. So you're not pushing those employees into a higher tax bracket. So they're getting, so they're losing all their profit share on tax. Nice. And then the last pillar is be a leader worth following. And I think this is kind of like what embodies like the last part of being cool, like you being cool as leaders is one, it's leading by example, but you need to be inspiring loyalty with people. You want to be creating something that's going to continue to push this high productivity and make people feel safe and comfortable with you. And so that's done one by you just kind of pushing yourself, looking at your own environment, saying, what do I need to do to make this place irresistible? I think that you become a leader when you start sharing your profits. People say, hey, this is someone I could believe in and I could trust. But that's what the last one is. It's being a leader worth following, building that trust with those people, creating relationships. One of the things I do in my restaurant is I have daily conversations with my staff, both before and afterwards. And there's two parts of this, actually. There's one is having an open door policy, which you should think of as like office hours, and saying, hey, there's a time where anybody can come to me with any depth of conversations that you want to discuss, and I'm going to give you my full undivided time. And that can't be all day, every day. Like, I'm operating a business. Like, there's certain times where I have to be very focused on certain things. And so employees can't just come to you at any time and say, hey, I need to have this conversation. So there needs to be set times where you say, these are my office hours, these are my open door hours, and I'll discuss anything and everything with no fear of punishment or retaliation, right? But then the other aspect from that is this constant daily communication, is this constant application of pressure. And so it's not that one day you're pushing hard and one day you're barely pushing. It's every day. It's kind of like that same level of pressure. And it's just, it's interacting and talking with the employee. Hey, how are you feeling today? Are you prepared for the shift? Here is the specials that we're running today. Here is the changes in programming. Here's a private party we're having, and then catching up with them, and it should only be a 3 to 5 minute conversation, and then catching up with them again at the end of their shift and just saying, hey, how was that for you? How did that party go? Were these specials working? Elicit feedback from people, because if people could talk to their boss, it's like I'm the general and these are my soldiers on the field. I don't know where the little gopher holes are. They do. I don't know where the patches of ice are. They do. And so I need to listen to them, because again, if we're intrinsically connected, they're going to want me to know the landscape of the battlefield so I can continue to make the best strategic moves to both help them and help me.
That's awesome. I appreciate it, Ryan. I like there's a lot that you have with this. Clearly, like you've lived this, and so like you can get into it. And I like how do I say it? I definitely want to make sure there's a lot of room for like culture of cool to grow, and you just have a lot of expertise with this, right? What I will say here is like we're at our time here in this conversation. But there's obviously still more, and so if someone wanted to like we'll do this in two parts. One, if someone was like, hey, I want to go and implement this, like, or my version of this here, right? What would you say would be like the first step that they should take here?
Yeah. So the first step is you just go to the 3 pillars and you start enacting baby steps on each one. So the first thing you got to do is you have to make sure your environment is irresistible. And you don't have to go to the highest levels of this, because sometimes that could cost a lot of money. But man, you better make sure that the appearance that you're giving your restaurant, both outside and inside, fits the appearance like if you were going to go on a first date with somebody. You want to put the right foot forward. If I have burnt out lights in my sign, well, what does that tell me about your attention to detail behind the scenes, right? If your front door is cluttered, or you have, temporary, and this is a big one for me. If you have a temporary banner, and I don't care what your business is, but if you've decided to put a temporary banner up, instead of buying a sign, what are you telling me? You're telling me that you don't believe in yourself. You're telling me that you don't have 10 grand to invest in a real sign, and you'd rather spend $700 or $1,000 on this temporary sign because you're not really sure if you're going to make it. So if you're not sure you're going to make it, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. That doesn't make that environment irresistible. That makes that environment going to be fleeting. And it's not something that I need to connect myself to, because it's not going to be cool in the future. It's not something that's going to continue to build me as a customer. So one is just start to look at your environment and make sure you don't have cords laying around. Make sure all your light bulbs, are changed. Make sure you don't have cobwebs. Just do the little things. Two is sharing in the profits. I think initially, especially when you're starting and there's maybe not profits, it's hard to just come out the gates and you have a C-level staff and say, hey, I'm going to start doing profit sharing with you. Because no, you don't want to profit share with these people. You want to profit share with A-level staff. And so the first thing that you can do that could be sharing in the pie is just reinvesting in the business. With bartending, there's all sorts of different mats, and same with cooks. Go get them the really nice mats that have, that are easy on their knees, and it's going to make their ease of employment better. Make sure you're getting your cooks the right knives and the right pans, and your bartenders the right equipment, the right host stand, whatever it might be. Reinvest back into that business. So at least if to start with, you're not giving me profit share, I could feel that this is a place that cares, right? And that's going to then attract both guests and employees, because then what you're going to do is you can get rid of those C-level employees, and now a B-level employee is going to say, hey, I could see that you're doing the right things here, so now I'm also now attracted to working there. And so that would be the first step, because you want to go from the C employees to the B employees to the A employees, and you have to do this step by step. And then the last thing on that is be a leader worth following. So make sure that you're putting that same effort. Make sure that you are leading by example, and you're showing them that you believe in this long-term vision. And again, 2 things are going to happen. One, you're going to have employees that are going to go, no, I kind of wish things would go back to the way they were. Cool. Those are the ones we're voting off the island. And then, you'll have the other employees. They'll say, I see this and I want this. And then you encourage them. You say, you have more potential in you. So let's do this together. And you become somebody that's worth following. And, and then through each step, you just keep notching that up. So on step 2, You continue to make your environment a little bit more irresistible.
Yeah.
You start picking up the ambiance a little bit more. You spend a little bit more on fixturing or, uplighting or different, little aspects. This on the step 2 is where you start feeding to the employees, hey, there's a profit share coming. We're getting to that place. And then start talking to them about what they might want to see in a profit share, and then start designing a profit share program that works for your business. But you say, hey, we have to continue to get this to this next level so I can enact it. And the same thing with you, you just continue to be a leader worth following. You continue to lead by example. You continue to make yourself present in the business. You continue to do things that are right because they are right. And the employees and the customers will all feel this. And part of this too is not just creating an environment or sharing in the pie with the employees, but create great promotions, create loss leaders, and where the customer feels that they're valued. Create loyalty programs that reward the customer for continuing to come in or to bringing their friends in. And you're, again, creating this irresistible environment. You're sharing in your piece of pie. You're saying, I don't have to make the highest profit on you every time you come in here. Hey, on this time, I'm going to reduce my profit to make sure I'm giving back to you, the employee. And then the very end of that is you're on the last step. And now you have the A employees. And so now you really make sure that every single thing in your environment is irresistible, from the offerings to the benefit packages to the employees, to the promotions and the ambiance of the guests, to the food offerings. At this point, you should have your profit share model in place. So now people are actually cashing in on the efforts that they're putting in. And that allows you to then, again, continue to attract greater staff, and you have the A-level staff. And the great thing about A-level staff, no matter what business you're in, they have their own following. And so now their people are going to start coming in. And then you ignite this like magnetism that exists. And like, now you're not putting ads on these job postings. People are wanting to come to you. Hey, I want to work here. Customers are flocking to you. You have a line out the door because now you've enacted this culture of cool. You have an irresistible environment. You've shared in the pie with your customers and with your employees. And you're genuine, man. You're real, and you've put people above profits. You've shown them that you can be trusted, and you build bonds, with both your guests and your employees.
Let me ask you this then. So if anyone wants to continue down the path and they want to work with you, just like this one has to be pretty quick here. How can they best go ahead and do that?
Well, so I have a podcast, Ryan Ransom Reveals, and I talk about a lot of this in detail. They could contact me on ryanransom.com. And I actually have a free 45-minute consulting I'll do with people. And that allows them to share some of their problems or sticking points with me. And then, I can discuss this with them in that session. And if they like it, then we continue to consult together.
Awesome. And then if you had to leave one message for yourself, Ryan, like from everything you've learned right now that you would listen to about 20 years from now, that'd be like, oh yeah, I definitely didn't want to forget that. What's the message you would leave right now for yourself 20 years from now? 20 too far, go with 10. That's fine.
Well, I would say just don't give up on this. Just that, collaboration is always going to be the way. Rising tides rise all ships. I think that to me is the encapsulation of all of this.
Well, Ryan, I really appreciate you coming here. Like, obviously, I believe in you and I believe in what you're doing out there. I think you have a tremendous amount of value to provide. I like that you have the podcast itself, Ryan Ransom Reveals, to go even deeper in all this year, and then the awesome opportunity for them to come spend time with you and actually like get like their hands dirty and be like, all right, what's actually happening here? I appreciate you like taking the time to bring yourself to this conversation and what you bring out of others. And Outliers, like. My general thing is like, go be cool, and let your coolness shine, because you're already cool, but let that shine and put the systems and infrastructure underneath it. What'd you say, Ryan?
Yeah, have confidence in your coolness.
Yeah, exactly.
Let your cool shine.
That's it. All right, y'all. Be well, and until the next time we talk, journey on.